Welcome to day number 2 of the Cobx Masters LAN. We are finally here in the playoffs, but before we talk about it today, the packed schedule that we have, can we just take a moment of appreciation for this beautiful trophy right in front of us that will go to the winner of this LAN. What a real beauty. I can see it from up close, and this gives a whole new meaning to Trophy Wife. Fantastic piece that the winner of this LAN will be able to hold up in front of all of you. And now, if you can actually do it, we can get the schedule for the day up on the screen so you can see the teams that will be playing. Starting us out will be the Dota Games, Exclamation playing against Detonator, followed up by MVP PK versus Boot. And then finishing off with Greyhound versus Alpha Red. Today, all the games are best of 3. We are here in the playoffs. It's elimination. There's no redos. It's time for some real games to start off. And for the first game of the day, we can't wait anymore. Let's start presenting the teams. The first of which is a team that did not get an opportunity to play in the main stage yesterday. But many of you know these guys. They punctuate their games and sentence their opponents to a swift death. It's Exclamation! Right, and now we will get to meet their opponents. You did get to see them yesterday here on the stage, and they performed wonderfully. These guys blew their opponents away. These guys exploded here on the stage, and they're ready to do so yet again. It is Detonator!
Thank you very much, Swordfish. Always a pleasure watching you on stage. You handle it perfectly. We're back here at the analyst desk at the Cobx Masters, and we have the teams competing for $100,000 in the biggest tournament, the biggest esports tournament in India's history. I'm joined by Mr. D-Drop and Gareth. I'm Shane. It's cracking, boys.
Yeah, all good. I like that, sentencing their opponents and punctuating their games. Some beautiful poetry from Swordfish up there on the stage.
I was very impressed with Detonator, kind of getting into the music. Did you see them little dance moves?
Yeah, giving the old high fives as they walk on, and then telling their opponents that the bus is waiting for them. I mean, that is a signal of intent, isn't it?
I like it.
Certainly got a trash talk down, right? And that's half the battle, isn't it?
Short but sweet.
It's all those C pubs, you know. You've got to get into the real mood of it.
a lot of practice, but I mean, exclamation mark, 3 Filipinos as well. They should be.
But before we get
on
into
the same
that,
level, right?
before we get into that, let's talk about the tournament as a whole. All right, so. For a lot of people, there was a few upsets, like the group stage itself. So let's start with Group A. We had Signify coming out top of the group, 2-0. For a lot of people, that was quite a surprise, right? Like, what did you guys think of their performance?
You probably see them as the dark horses going up against Mark and Arkan City. You know, they've got well-known players. They are kind of well-known teams. But Signify playing on LAN in front of home crowd, they are a solid team, and they showed that they can actually match up pretty well against these higher tier opponents.
Okay, then we talk about Exclamation Point a bit. 1-1 was the result.
It was indeed. I wasn't too surprised. I always knew that this was going to be a possibility because this team, I mean, you have Neuer as a captain. He has a lot of years of experience under his belt, but you still need some time to whip him into shape. Like, it's a relatively fresh squad, like formed 3 months ago or so. And we also heard him talk a little bit about that he's a bit worried about his teammates that don't have that LAN experience. And it's certainly different. Like yesterday, they played all the games off stage, which is back in the practice rooms. It's kind of certainly a different situation than just coming out here, sitting in front of everyone and playing on the
but
big
when they have
stage.
D-drop on the panel, the guys must be awful nervous.
It's definitely a challenge, though, isn't it? You know, you've got Welp, their offlaner, who's ranked 12 in Southeast Asia on the leaderboards. Excellent player, but it's always a challenge as a captain or as a squad to try and bring people into that team dynamic and figure out how they want to play as a group of 5. You know, you think about Miracle moving to OG and Liquid. You know, it took him months to really slot in and fit into that mechanism of the team working. He's an amazing player, but it still takes that time of building up the communication, the confidence, and really that synergy between them.
Then we look at Aachen City here, 0-2, like quite an upset. Like when you have names like Funnick, right? These are like high contenders. No one expected the 0-2.
The screen squad. Their game against Exclamation Mark was pretty close, though. There was a big comeback with, I think it was Teehee's Morphling that swung the game pretty hard in the late stages. So that one was really on the edge, and it could quite easily have been Aachen City that came through the groups into the playoffs. But it was, you know, just a little bit of play there.
Okay, and then let's move on to Group B. We had Detonator, obviously top of the groups. This was maybe the most stacked group of all of them. Detonator, Tigers, and then Poor Entity.
Poor Entity.
We watched both their games on stage yesterday, and they did impress me, but the opponents they were facing were a bit out of their league. You know, maybe if they come back in 6 months to Cobx Masters 3, hopefully, we'll see a different performance from them. But what did you think of Entity showing, first of all? Just to recap yesterday a little bit.
I think the biggest takeaway is that they've shown a massive improvement just from game 1 to game 2. So in game 1 as well, maybe just having that stage jitters a little bit. I think if they fix up their drafts and whatnot, then if they put in the practice, if they put in the work, again, also relatively fresh squad under this organization. So if they have that support now, going into the next few weeks and months, we can certainly see the potential. Again, if you just have this kind of a boost in performance just from one game to the next, then that certainly shows that there is potential there.
Yeah, with more exposure to these top teams, what we could see in the future could be amazing. All right, Tigers, 1-1, maybe the favorites coming into this tournament, not performing or maybe underestimating Detonator a little bit. Well, what do you think?
I think it's one of those kind of a momentum things where Detonator have been really hitting their stride. Tigers have been struggling, you know, not just in this tournament, but in a number of qualifiers online and offline. They didn't look particularly good. Detonator, I would say, had 2 very easy games up against both Tigers and Entity. You know, I just can't put my finger on what's wrong with or what's the challenge that Tigers are facing.
Well, when you're Dendy, for example, you're playing in the same scene, the same language, the same environment nearly for nearly a decade almost, right? It must be quite, I don't know, it must feel uncomfortable or different to just change all of that, move to Southeast Asia and play with this kind of new vibe.
Do you think it just takes them longer to get used to that kind of new dynamic?
When you're doing the same thing repeatedly, it must be kind of difficult to just change it all of a sudden, especially when that's all you know in Dota. Even he was playing Dota 1 since he was like 12, right? And always in the CIS region with Russian players. He probably knew most of the scene.
You think back to the True Sight episode of Fnatic, right? Where the Filipino players joined the Malaysian squad.
Yeah.
And there was definitely a lot of conversation around that kind of culture or language barrier or communication difficulties. And it's, you know, the fact that everybody has to speak up and voice their opinions, but obviously you have personalities who are a little bit more quiet, a little bit more shy, and you know, as a captain or as a leader of the squad, you've got to bring out the personalities of these players, not just for confidence reasons, but for the team to work as a whole.
Okay, with that, we'll move on to the series itself. We have Detonator versus Exclamation Point in the semi-finals of the Cobx Masters. What are your initial thoughts when you see this matchup, guys? Like, what do you feel?
Exclamation Mark can take a game off Detonator. I think that's something they're looking for. You know, Neuer was talking about chasing his dreams, really sort of pushing for it, but he's up against a nightmare of an opponent.
It's fair.
Yeah, I rate Exclamation Mark as one of these dark horse kind of teams. If they can find a stride, or if they can kind of get a grip on the game, then yeah, we seen yesterday, if you just look at that game, they can pull off comebacks. Like, they do have the drive to take a game that's looking bad, but still go on, still looking for the win, looking for the victory.
They're not quitters.
They're not quitters, exactly. Up against Detonator, though, I still have to favor them, just because they looked very good against their opponents yesterday.
Yeah,
they beat Tigers. And going into this tournament, they were one of the favorites alongside Tigers. So it's going to be a tough one for Exclamation Mark. I wouldn't count them out completely for the entire series. And I would also agree that they can probably take a game.
It's going to take some magic, though.
You're a bit of a fan of El Tihi, aren't you? I
I've been following him for a while.
Drag and Drop even brought it up. He was like, Garrett Scott, exclamation point. He knows what's cracking with these boys.
Teehee idol.
Yeah, so tell me a bit about him.
Oh, how long ago was it? It must have been 4 or 5 years ago. He was playing on the original iteration of TNC with AU and Lucky and these guys. And he was one of the first players to bring around the old Phantom Lancer against Invoker matchup in the mid lane. He played Juggernaut mid when everyone started, MVP started copying him, and then they went to European tournaments. European tournaments players, teams started copying MVP. So he started this whole train of thought of, hey, we can start putting melee carries into the mid lane again. He's an exceptionally skilled and very kind of mentally adept player. He knows what's up, but he's a bit shaky on the old confidence sometimes. And he is one of those players that can, if the game's going poorly, slip a little bit.
Why are you saying that? He can hear us, dude. Wait till they're putting on their headsets now. We'll keep that conversation for 2 minutes from now. But how does that affect them, like, as a team, would you say? Like, one player being less confident?
I wouldn't say he's less confident, but there's definitely that mentality shift when the game's not going his way. He can feel a lot of the pressure on his shoulders. You know, the Arkan City matchup where he was playing the Morphling, it comes to a point where everything's on that one hero, that one player. He can step up and perform, but in situations where he has to, as a team, do you really want everything to be on that one hero, one player, to win you a game?
It's definitely risky. And then the other side, I believe yesterday we saw Ben Hur, in my opinion, was the standout player for Detonator in the mid lane. What did you, or maybe you disagree?
No, absolutely. I mean, Ben, who is one of these heroes, or one of these players that you look at that can always perform very well and that never really underperforms, I feel like. It's kind of, the only thing that makes it tough is that you have so many other players on that team that also in that spot where it's like, all right, this guy's pretty good. They talk about Sam H. Like, how can he not be the MVP every single game, right? Especially when you put him on his heroes. And even Fly Solo, like, he has such a really good backbone if he plays his Oracle. These kind of supports.
So you're saying they basically draft off Fly Solo's heroes? Is that, like...
It's always a good baseline. Like, you played a lot of Lich and Oracle, these kind of saving heroes, just to have a bit of a backup for these cores to make them shine a little bit more, make their life a little bit easier, and enable them to perform the way that they need to.
It's a thankless job, really, isn't it?
He really is that position 6. You know, you think about sort of your Solo, your Vanscore in Europe, these kind of players that play the Oracle, the Bane, the Shadow Demon. He is very much that captain, that driving force behind the team, and it is a thankless job, but he gets the job done.
It's good to see. When I look at Exclamation Point, I see so many different regions they're coming from, right? We have a South American, we have a Danish lad, and 3 Filipinos. Like, I like the way Dota's kind of going that way a little bit, right? It's becoming more international. People are seeking out other opportunities across the world. But when it comes down to it, how do you think that affects the dynamic in the team? We talked a bit about it earlier with Dendy, but maybe if you could elaborate more on that. Like Noya coming from Danish Bears, he's been in the Danish squad for most of his
He played with his brother for the majority of his career. You know, playing
so long, actually.
Yeah, for the longest time. And making that split can often be very hard. You know, you think about Kuroki and Puppy. You know, we consider them as brothers a lot of the time. Making that split away and doing your own thing, like you said, following his dreams, it can be difficult. But if he's able to build a squad around him and find comfort in the players that he's kind of molded into his team, that can only lead to good things.
It's quite impressive, actually, to come all the way out to Southeast Asia, and I know Eternal Envy, there was a post on Reddit about it yesterday, and he's like, I don't care how I do it. I want to be the best. I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to keep pursuing every angle possible to train and become better at Dota. And it's actually, it's so nice to hear that and to see it in action with Noya in this case.
Yeah, you have to make these big steps. Like, I mean, just moving halfway across the world is certainly not an easy task for anyone, let alone a Dota player with all of these pressures that are already on you. But I think we're moving to, I think it's a really good idea to just mix these kind of different ideas from these different regions and put them together. Like, if you look at the top teams, all of them have, or most of them have different nationalities, and the only real top teams that are from a single country are just Chinese people, right? So there is certainly something to that, I think.
The days of Alliance and even Navi, to some extent, kind of close, right? Ukraine, that's a topic subject.
Let's not touch that.
Dodgy subject. But like, it feels like you just kind of look for the players that fit your team rather than like language or any of this. Like, I feel it's even less important in Dota to talk. It's really weird, but there's you need one or two people that command the squad, and you can have one or two quiet guys. Like, I spoke to some members of Secret about this, and they were saying that Nisha literally says nothing. Like,
but he knows.
Yeah, he knows what's happening. He knows that he can hear what his teammates are saying, but he doesn't have to say a word.
But even like on the macro level, that's true. But even on the micro level, you know, in a certain situation, let's say you're going for a gank, there's 3 of your teammates are moving in to fight 3 of the enemy, and you know exactly where, you know, Yaps or Earth Spirit's going to roll. You know exactly where Kuroki's going to telekinesis and drag back without communicating, without even having to talk. You know within certain reasonable bounds what your teammates are going to do, and you can adapt and play off the back of that without having to say, I'm going to stun him now, I'm going to lift him and drag. You just immediately, before it even happens,
it's just
because
natural.
You've trained and you've practiced and you've kind of worked together as a squad.
So I've just been told the draft will be in about 5 minutes. It's been a short delay, but we'll be with you quite soon. Let's talk a bit about the concept of Cobx, right? Bringing these international teams to India to play against the local talent. How long do you think it'll be until we see like a performance increase? Like you mentioned it earlier that we almost saw it from the one game to the next yesterday.
Yeah.
So do you think it is actually that quick? Like, these teams are here, they're going to scrim against some top players, they're going to get a lot of exposure to these talents. Do you think it has that quick an effect?
There's a lot of information that you can kind of, you know, glean from reading Dota Buff or watching VODs or analyzing drafts, but until you actually feel or experience it in practice, you very often don't understand or feel the, you know, ramifications or the scenarios that come off the back of it. And I was listening to a couple of the Entity players outside talking about how they wanted to adapt their drafts and what heroes they wanted to kind of first pick or second pick because of what the opponents were doing. And they're, you know, in real time adapting to this, which is something that you can't do from an outside perspective. You know, you third-person perspective looking down onto VODs and drafts, you're not there doing it.
Yeah, when you're drafting these heroes and then you play against what you think is a good matchup, but they play it like a tiny bit different, or they maybe pick a hero you're not used to playing against. All of a sudden,
well, they do one gank or one pull, or
exactly, just unusual things that you're not used to. It just makes you adapt and makes you grow as a player. So, in general, I think it's a really cool concept.
Yeah, I mean, they were even talking about sort of pulling and single pulling and double pulling. Like, we shouldn't have done this at 3 minutes because, you know, they were going to push under our tower and dive us.
Yeah, it takes a lot of practice and takes a lot of exposure to these new things, or everything that you were talking about. Absolutely agree. If you just keep playing against the same teams, against the same players in your own region, you're not really pushing each other, right? But if you are exposed to the international scene, to high-level competition, then you see the flaws in your own strategy a lot easier, because these teams that we're talking about here, they're pretty good at what they do, right? They will look at their opponents and they will see, all right, there is this pull that they're doing. We can exploit that immediately. And that forces you to innovate. That forces you to think more about what you want to do. And it forces you to improve. It's not a quick process. You can only see indications from one game to the next. It will take practice. It will take also a lot more players that take these kind of steps, that take it seriously. I think in 2 to 3 years or so, we can probably see some more Indian teams on the world stage.
It's funny to think how far Dota's come, right? You know, now we've got coaches and analysts and, you know, all this great stuff. But thinking back, it used to be hero pick versus hero pick, counter to counter. And then it's about finding ward spots and counter warding. And then it's about smoke ganks and then rotations, tower timings, item timings. All of these things just add nuance and building up strategies over time. In the past 3 years, we've had more progression in Dota 2 than the previous 10.
I remember I was looking back at TI 1 and 2, and I was
What
looking
were
at
they
the-
thinking?
I was looking at the games, and I was like, dear God, these people sucked. Like, I'm not a god at Dota by any means, but it was like 5-man black holes all the time. You know, it shouldn't happen, lads. Like, just, you know, a bit of distance.
It's insane, isn't it?
Yeah, the amount that the skill has increased, like the MMR might be somewhat similar levels in number-wise, but what that number represents is so much more nowadays. And it makes Dota in one way, I don't know, it's kind of hard to judge. Is it more boring to watch or more exciting? Like, if you can understand and enjoy like these
The
minute,
intricacies.
these minute tiny things, it's like Craigasm, right? But at the same time, games there's less throws. There's less like turnarounds. It's a lot rarer that you see like a huge mistake and then someone like outplays someone, and it's kind of hard to. What do you guys think of this?
Or does it make the outplays more exciting because there are fewer of them? You know, it's difficult. Like, I think the balance, you hit the nail on the head. It's kind of difficult to judge which way it goes, and it's going to come down to personal preference,
Yeah,
really, isn't
that's
it?
true.
Yeah, it comes down to how much you understand the game. Like, the more complicated it gets, and we all know Dota is extremely complicated to begin with, and the higher the level is, the more complicated it is, the more these small little things matter. Like, it's almost like in StarCraft. Like in StarCraft, one move can just
make or break the game.
can just lose you the game in 10 minutes time, and it's really hard to identify if you're not completely into the game.
So my rule with Dota is if someone says they understand it, they're an idiot. Like,
Pretty
honestly,
much, yeah.
you can always learn so much more when you're playing Dota, and I feel like
No one is good at Dota.
No.
Not a single
You're
person
only-
in the world is good at Dota 2.
you're only good enough to understand you're terrible.
Yeah.
And if you hear this guy, he's like, oh yeah, I'm really good, yeah, I'm better than my MMR, you're lying to yourself, mate. It's a lie.
I've never agreed with you more.
Thank you. So looking at this series, let's pick a player each. Let's go for it.
Okay.
And I want you to tell me who's going to stand out.
Sam
Like,
H.
Sam H.
I think, honestly, I
You
feel
took
like
the easiest one. Come on, man.
Oh, do you want Sam H? I'll go with T then. Fine. No, I
No,
want
yeah, I
Sam
mean, you
H.
claimed Sam H.
Honestly, that position 3, Sam H, he wins his lanes more often than not. Does get a lot of help from RR, who is maybe the second player for me, standing out on Detonator. His POS4 is exceptionally good. But the way that they play off each other in that dual lane scenario off lane, they crush the enemy safe lane, they make great rotations, but it's the timings on items like Helm of the Dom, Greaves, Pipe. He doesn't care about buying Blink Dagger or Force Staff early on.
None of this fancy crap.
It's like third item for him because he wants to group up with the team and really, rally them together and get the pushes going.
And then maybe you can pick some from exclamation mark. You don't have to, but you can if you want.
I think he wants you to.
I'm definitely hinting at it.
What?
I'm hinting at it. If you want to pick someone from Detonator, it's okay, but I'll be a little.
No,
a
it's
little
fine.
sad.
It's fine. I mean, Gareth already said the name Dihi. It's probably the standard play. Like he mentioned before, that there's a lot of pressure on his shoulders sometimes for good reason. Neuer also playing this very sacrificial, almost 5-6 position, where he doesn't always have as much of an impact on the hero himself. So it's kind of hard to put him there, and it's kind of hard to judge what kind of impact he has as a captain and communication-wise, just keeping the team together during the game. So when it comes to like flashy plays and carrying, Tihi is certainly the guy that you have to look for. And hey, if he gets the farm, if he gets to a point where he has all the tools that he needs to execute, you can certainly trust him to actually do that. Like I don't think he really, if he gets to choke, that's kind of that's a different story. But if he can keep it together in that sense, like we were talking about him earlier, then I think you can trust him to
I think for
perform.
exclamation mark, it's going to be a confidence thing. I think their drafts are decent. Their players are very good. They need to settle the LAN nerves, and they will be fine in this series.
Okay. I don't know. I kind of disagree. I think Detonator just looked so strong yesterday. Like,
When I say they'll be fine, I don't think. We started this panel with me saying that exclamation mark will take a game, right?
okay.
Yeah.
So you say they'll be fine. Like they'll emotionally be okay.
The games will
Yeah,
be
like-
close.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
We look at them in isolation more or less right now. Right?
Interesting.
So-
All right. What about Scam? What do you think of the Scam's carry?
solid.
Yeah.
I don't think he's made any like egregious mistakes. He does a lot of this kind of solo split pushing where he's shoving towers, pretending to have heroes behind him while they make the smoke moves with like fly solo and RR, which I often like to see because it gives this false sense of security to it. Like, do we go on the jug? Do we go and make a play? It's that uncertainty that it gives to the opponents because he plays so aggressively on objectives and tier 1 towers especially that it can be difficult to kind of read what Detonator are doing. So I think he plays the mind games very, very well from that position 1 role.
Okay. So we just have 2 more minutes, I've been told. I'm skeptical, but it's fine. Okay, well, we have a draft on the preview. Is that what I've been told? No?
We do.
Oh,
Well, there's a
my.
draft, yes. Nothing's been picked or banned just yet.
Oh,
but
we have a draft. Let's take it. You know what I'm saying? Let's be happy. All right. Is there any heroes that you guys think will be picked or banned?
I think the big contests are Earth Spirit, Shadow Shaman, Dark Seer, like the big 3 for me. I think Earth Spirit, Shadow Shaman might even just get first phase banned. Dark Seer probably gets slipped through, and maybe Detonator grab that in the first phase.
I saw Exclamation Mark picked Abaddon yesterday.
Pos 5, yeah.
Yeah. I've been playing a lot against a lot of pubs. It's annoying as hell, but it's kind of an unusual support in the way that it only kind of protects people. You can't really like do anything. A lot of the other heroes we're seeing are like Shadow Shaman, Lion, like Nyx to some degree. Like heroes that have control, can gank, can do other things like push towers, like burst damage.
Yeah, it's a purely defensive hero.
Yeah. Well, what do you think of that style?
I don't know if I agree with that. I think Abaddon gives you the weirdness factor where people aren't quite used to playing against Mistcoil yet. Because that immediate swing around with Shield and Mistcoil is very difficult to gauge what is exactly going to happen. Like, is he going to save his teammate and then, throw it onto me, or is he going to try and heal and move forward? And they had it against, Winter Wyvern Lena in the previous game that we saw, that Abaddon. So he was able to save and heal from these big teamfight ultis very nicely. But he's also able to do damage in the laning stage.
Yeah, he can do damage. He can turn things around for sure. But he's not the guy that just goes and initiates a gank, right? He's not the guy that can set up for the big team fights.
Oh, the Tiny as well. Yeah, both teams have played the Tiny in the mid lane.
I think we might actually throw it over to the casters.
We're going to have a first pick bounty hunter, apparently, for Exclamation Mark.
I absolutely,
Hate that hero
yeah.
right now? Yeah, me too. That hero is really annoying to play against.
It's not just the fact, like, the problem is he pretty much, like, with the new interaction with Janata and Track, he, like, one-shot supports.
Yeah.
If you're a 5-position player that's slow, like, you have sub 300 move speed, your life's forfeit.
Forget it. If you actually don't have like a hard disable too, your life is just terrible.
Yeah. You need targeted stuns for that hero.
Fortunately, you've got probably one of the best supports in the pool right now to match up against Bounty Hunter with the Abaddon. First of all, you've got natural survivability with your ultimate, and you've got a way to remove track with the Aphotic Shield. And Abaddon's just an annoying support to play against all around.
Yeah. In the worst cases, I've seen is like, I saw the other day, Insania was playing a game where he had a Tide Hunter against him, and it was like Tide, and their lane was like Spec Abba.
Yeah.
You're not doing anything.
That you can't outspam
No.
Tide out of that lane.
And then Tide comes online much faster than Spec, so then they just
Yeah. pushed
with his Greaves pipe, and they won in like 25 minutes.
But you're at least like your Spectre will never get harassed out of lane, right?
Yes.
That's the advantage of the Abaddon is this miscoil either used offensively is going to spam somebody out of the lane, or defensively is going to keep your carry alive nonstop.
I mean, the odd parts about this is like, if you're Detonator, you know that you want somewhat of a greedy carry because of that fact, but you can't go like too greedy. I really like Morph right now, by the way. As in, I think he's super broken. I think this year is like crazy. He does so much.
What happened with this hero that made him broken recently? Because it's not like the hero was a big thing when he encountered some changes with Morph and everything. Kind of went away for a little bit. Now it's coming back. Why is that?
I don't really know about what the patch changes were or anything, but like it just feels good.
Yeah.
In a mid lane, he loses to nobody.
Yeah.
Like you get, I mean, I guess he loses to like Skywrath, but like that's a really specific condition. And like
It's one of those matchups you're just not going to see.
Yeah, exactly. And Morphling, part of the problem is that you can't really harass him out. Like he just always has HP. If you try to get into a fight, he baits you. He has like 200 health. You're like, oh, I got him. He's gonna win that fight no matter what.
Yeah.
You're just not going to win that. Because he starts with low agi, salves, tangos are all really cost efficient on him. And more importantly, like it allows him to out CS you. Adaptive Strike is such a good harass mechanic.
Yeah.
It does like 250 damage every time.
And it's crazy low mana.
Yeah,
Right.
it costs
so
like
you
nothing,
can
it's
just keep
50.
throwing it out there.
Yeah.
They're going to be matched up against an OD, which is, I would say, is probably one of the better Morphling killers out there. Is also a good counter to Abaddon.
Yeah. You Astral him whenever he pops his ulti.
Yeah.
Like-
Borrow time, you just take him out.
Any of those like Yules slash phase carriers like that, always really nice. I
Yeah.
mean, he's pretty unique in that regard, right?
Abaddon is as
I guess.
a support.
No, I
or
meant
OD.
OD, but I guess
Yeah.
Shadow Demon does it too.
Shadow Demon does it too, but like from a core position. Yeah, he's definitely very unique in that regard. You especially see it like he was a super unique core back when we were running like Dazzle Oracle with OD, where you would have a support that has a save mechanism and a core that has a save mechanism.
I mean, the
Not
best
a whole lot of cores can do that for
The
you.
most annoying combo by far was when Omni was really popular.
Yeah.
And you had Omni OD every game.
Yeah,
Just
that
couldn't
was-
lose.
That was something else.
So they get rid of Pugna and Razor, which are both good ways to deal with
OD as a hero. Yeah.
good lane matchups overall, which
Pugna is like the only hero that really destroys OD in that mid matchup, right?
I don't
Is there
even
any
think
other
it's
heroes
that
that
terrible for him.
Yeah,
Because it's just like you get
you
Astral.
still got to farm and
Yeah,
stuff.
you get farm. And getting kills as the Pugna is pretty hard.
Yeah.
Like the OD has to mess up. He has to offensively use his Astral, stay in lane,
Mhm.
then get Decrep Blast ulted.
Yeah.
And his move speed's pretty good too, OD. So it's like he walks out of it, no problem.
Are there any other matchups that you've seen against OD? That
Puck's
look
pretty good.
Puck?
Puck's pretty good. SF's not bad. Yesterday I saw Kingdra pick SF versus OD and canceled it just fine. Because you just farm, right?
Yeah.
You just trade farm, and also SF can hit jungle creeps. And OD doesn't like kill potential you, so.
Yeah. It's going to be a Radiant side OD as well, so he's got that small little medium camp right next to him that he can farm.
Mm-hmm.
The Radiant advantages are still pretty insane. Combination of the mid lane, your mid camp, and then also I still feel like the Radiant pull is much better than the Dire hard camp pull. Just being able to eat those two little trees. Incredibly hard to be able to disrupt all that. Shadow Shaman is going to be your third pick for Detonator. We've seen this support to a lot of success lately. Is able to, I mean, he's just such a lane winner.
Yeah, he's really versatile.
Yeah.
He scales really nicely. I think as a 4/5, he has one of the best talent trees in the game. He has the XP talent into the cast range talent into the shackles duration,
Yeah.
which is just absurd. If you win a team fight, like if you start winning a team fight with Shadow Shaman, you're not like you're just gonna press your advantage further.
I honestly don't think this hero should have a cast range talent.
Yeah, because you
with
just get
Aether
Aether
Lens
Lens.
and the cast range talent, it just becomes absurdly hard to try and counterplay this super long range shackles and hex.
It's like a 1,200 range shackle that
Yeah.
you can't do anything about.
Waiting for the response from Exclamation. So far, the lineup from Detonator is, I do feel like it's going to be a little bit slower just because that their support's very laning focused. In Abaddon and Shadow Shaman, you don't really have any heroes that are going to move around and start fights, get ganks for you. So maybe they'll be able to compensate that with their offlaner. Exclamation are going to pick up the Rubik, though. A lot of good steals here. Very strong hero against Abaddon. There's obviously a lot he can do against Shadow Shaman as well.
I really hope they don't do the thing where they do the Rubik 5.
Yeah, 4-position Rubik with Bounty Hunter sounds good. 5-position Rubik, eek.
But then you have Bounty Hunter against Morph Abba potentially, and I don't.
That
know how
doesn't
good
sound
that
like
is.
amazing. Because a lot of Bounty Hunter's laning phase is the harassment potential.
Yeah, but
that
I don't.
will-
I don't want to see 5/4 Rubik plus Bounty, because then you have 0 team fight.
Yeah.
You have very little damage. Like, I think Bounty Hunter works much better as a 3 position than he does a 4.
For sure. as a core, with the change to Janata and the track interaction, you really are incentivized to build items on this hero as much as possible, especially with the other things like track no longer giving movement speed to your allies means that he's just worse from a support perspective there, right? Like only being able to give movement speed to yourself, that's a selfish core player thing.
So we have Queen of Pain for Detonator. I think it's a decent co-op game just because they don't really have the burst damage to kill her with the heroes that they currently have. And Abba's going to be so useful against the one disabled that they do have, which is you get Rubik lifted, Abba immediately shields you. There's almost no way you're going to get bursted down. She's got high int too, so that the OD doesn't just one-shot her with the ult later game.
Ooh. At Phantom Lancer OD. 1-2 core combo. That is pretty greedy.
I think right now they have 0 team fight. If you take a good hero on, the good news is that I think the OD dissuades you from picking heroes like Tidehunter to just like straight up go and end the game.
Sure.
But at the same time, like that's pretty greedy.
How do you respond if you're a Detonator? Like you said, you can't build Tide or something, but you do want something that pushes the pace and just gives you either more high ground potential or more team fight.
I would think if there wasn't an OD, like OD does complicate things a little bit because you could take something like Legion, clear out the Illus from PL, pressure in lane.
Yeah.
Plus you have like 2 different ways to remove track.
Yeah.
And I think its duel is really nice against OD in general. If you get Blade Mail, he just kills himself really quickly.
Same goes with like Timbersaw as a counter to PL, countered by OD. The OD does cover Phantom Lancer in that regard quite well.
I'm trying to think right now.
You could do like core Leshrac or something.
Actually,
The
Lush is actually pretty good.
Lesh.
Lush sounds pretty nice.
They do really have to make sure. If they go something like that, though, they have to make sure this Bounty Hunter does not have a good game. We're saying he probably won't, just because the more Abaddon lane is pretty tough to beat. The just casual harassment of Miscoil and Adaptive Strike is pretty tough.
I actually like the way that Exclamation Mark's drafted. I just feel like, you take the Rubik, so with the PL, so you dissuade a lot of his counters, like Sand King, for example. And you take the OD so that you can also get rid of all the lane like equalizers. But at the same time, like I feel like they've gone too far in that direction. I like the idea of the Lush though. I like the idea of the Lush a lot.
Tide is going to be banned by Exclamation Mark. Even though they have the OD, they're still concerned about that team fight snowball aspect.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Detonator are going to ban away the Night Stalker, feeling like it's going to be a 4-5 Bounty Hunter Rubik, and they were going to pick some very fast tempo offlaner. I feel like you've already got that, though, if you run Core Bounty. That's me, anyway.
They need somebody with another form of catch on Exclamation Mark. So they take Silencer. So I guess it's now Silencer plus Rubik support duo, which means that the Rubik is a 4. They have some team fight. I just don't like the very low amount of catch that they potentially have.
Yeah.
And on the flip side, I think for Detonator, you just pick any sort of aggressive dual lane. Like, any of the heroes will work. Because Silencer plus PL, I think, is such a weak lane.
Yeah, that Silencer is not going to match up real well. And they're going to go for the Beastmaster, which does give us, more opportunity for you to be able to take objectives, both towers as well as Roshan. Very good vision control, which is something that we hadn't really talked about just yet, but Beastmaster will give you a lot of that. Very strong lane winner. I don't really see how Silencer Phantom Lancer is going to be able to do a whole lot against Shadow Shaman Beastmaster. Both those heroes, really good harassment, really high base damage on both of them.
I think Beastmaster is a really good pick here. I was thinking about it from like the 3rd pick on, believe it or not, just because I think he fulfills a lot of your needs. Like he pressures in lane very well.
Yep.
He pairs really nicely with Shaman. No one's fighting against 2 boars plus Shaman right clicks. Like, you're just not doing that.
No.
And
No,
more
you're not.
importantly, he pushes short cooldown. You dominate the bottom lane, or I guess it's top, right? Are they dire?
Beastmaster is dire.
Yeah. So you dominate the top lane. You get rid of the towers quickly, and you just take complete map control with your shaman ults.
Yeah, this is definitely concerning. The combination, we've seen this before, where a team has kind of a bad laning phase, a slower lineup, and just doesn't come online fast enough that they just end up getting steamrolled so quickly. And Detonator really only have to worry about Skem and his farm. Because we're pretty much guaranteed that Sam H is going to get farm out of his lane, as we talked about how good that lane's going to be. And then we've got Ben-Hur on the Queen of Pain, who is a core, a mid laner that operates, you know, you like to have some farm, but it's not a necessity. You mostly just need levels, right?
Played a really good Tiny the other game that we saw him. Who's that against? Entity.
Yeah.
That was the game that we saw yesterday where he just dominated.
Well, we'll see how the Silencer does. Noya's going to be playing that one. Bit concerned about that last pick, especially with how slow his team fight contribution is. The global silence not being up very often. Meanwhile, you take a look at this Detonator side, and very low cooldowns on pretty much everything. The highest cooldown is Serpent Wards, which is not a necessity for team fights, really just for pushing high ground and certain objectives.
Yes, I mean playing against heroes like Silencer is pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Is if you get good team fights, then you just like that's when your heroes are the most effective. Like when you can set up around global silence, and if you don't, then you just lose the fight, and you can't really do anything.
There we have it. Our first game is going to get underway in this best of 3. Detonator versus Exclamation. We're going to head into the game as our lanes are beginning to unfold. We are going to have the mid matchup of the Queen of Pain versus OD. Nothing really unusual is happening so far, except for the fact that Exclamation, I guess it's not really that surprising. They're going to try and dodge the Shadow Shaman Beastmaster lane. I feel like as Detonator, you should probably expect this.
30 seconds.
Yeah, that's the correct thing to do.
And do you also agree with them potentially tri-laning? Do you think that's better for Exclamation?
I mean, Silencer plus PL plus Rubik tri-lane doesn't sound very good.
Yeah, that
I think-
sounds real low damage.
I think the Rubik's only up here to secure the runes.
Yeah. And he'll TP down to bottom lane, join the Bounty Hunter. Once they secure those double bounties. Fly Solo playing the Abaddon. I feel like it's one of the, from a feeling perspective, one of the best 5s to play right now. 'Cause not only do you feel really effective in lane, you could just suicide at any time with Mistcoil.
He's
Just-
boring to play though. Be real.
Yeah. I mean, he's kind of like, you know, people who liked playing the old Lich with a deny mechanic, you would probably enjoy playing Abaddon.
He's even less aggressive than that because you don't have Chain Frost to play with. But they are, looks like they are going to tri-lane, which I don't think they should do. And in fact, they are going to move the Rubik down.
Skem is going to go down to the bottom lane and join the Shadow Shaman, though. So both teams trying to mix up the lanes to make sure that they get the matchup that they want. And we'll see whether or not Exclamation are going to try and switch up the lanes again, if they're going to move the supports. I mean, they already got at least a decent advantage in the fact that maybe they didn't get the Phantom Lancer away from the Beastmaster, but at least he's not in the Shadow Shaman lane.
Yeah. That is the huge upside here. And this mid matchup is actually pretty good for this Quap so far.
He's got the high ground advantage. It's got to be a big advantage of just being able to freely throw out Shadow Strikes against the OD. Because I
Yeah.
doubt he really wants to imprison himself to try and dodge that,
No, it's not worth
that nuke.
Not even close.
So
But-
you just get to freely harass him every single time.
Yeah, Ben-Hur, I think he could be winning this lane even harder. But it's fine overall, as top lane Sam H getting harassed up, but Fly Solo just here to spam out himself. And this PL versus Beastmaster, I mean, whoever's up here against a bad lane, you're going to free farm,
Yeah.
more or less. And we're seeing that already.
And the Beastmaster by himself doesn't really come online until you get that level 3, more like level 5, where you get the boars upgraded. That's when it becomes, the lane becomes unwinnable.
Yeah, would agree with that.
Telekinesis, just small toss back. Gets that Chinada hit for the extra bit of gold and harassment. You can see, yeah, Ben-Hur just going for the 2 levels of the Shadow Strike, knowing that the OD doesn't really have any counterplay options.
I mean, if you're Exclamation, you've got to find like some fights set up around with your global silence. You want ideally your OD there now. Like even though he's kind of a farm-based hero, he's also just has your most net worth.
Yeah.
It's like you have to get him online at some point.
RR, that is a fresh round of Serpent Wards, so they're going to immediately go for mid. You said it was surprising this mid tower was still alive, and Detonator, they're going to try and change the narrative of that one. They are going to be able to get the imprisonment onto this Morphling, who's already morphed into strength, so he's going to be pretty tanky. They won't be able to bring him down by any means, and this tier 1 will eventually fall.
Yeah, you're not fighting now without global. Sam H does get the deny on the tower. Scam has to back up, at least for a little bit.
As a result of that tower bounty, Sam H not only has the Vlads, but is closing in on the first Necrobook. He only needs the 2 Sages Mass, so about 700 gold away.
Let me tell you something. Track's only effective if you're getting kills.
Yeah, and with only 2 kills so far for Exclamation Mark, and both of those were before that bounty hunter hit his level 6. It is not looking good for the Radiant side.
Yeah, like Whelp's trying, he's just kind of going around the map, but the fact that neither of his supports have damage, and all 3, or his other 2 cores are pretty greedy, and they need their own farm. Like the entire principle about Dota is really cool, that you have to sacrifice a little bit of your own game to make somebody's better. And I mean, whose game is he really like doing anything for?
Yeah. Back into the game we go. Bottom lane, they're gonna have a shackled up bounty hunter, and unfortunately, well, sorry, Rubik, the bounty hunter, couldn't really stop anything from happening there, and they actually got the courier too with that Sonic Wave. So
that was so unlucky.
Yeah, that's rough.
They didn't even mean to hit that.
They're getting they got the kill bottom, are taking the tier 2 bottom, and they're pushing mid tier 2 at the same time.
There's just too much for them to deal with right now. Like their OD's pretty fat, but he just doesn't have enough to feel comfortable about the fight.
Yeah.
The jump in from Ben-Hur, real aggressive.
Yeah, he is feeling bold, and I guess you can't do that when you've got support Abaddon behind you. And very
deny the tower.
Very little team fight. Very little heavy nuking power on the side of Exclamation Mark. They aren't going to be able to get the deny on the tier 2. But bottom tier 2 is still up, and this one cannot be denied. That'll be another kill for Sam H, who is sitting on Necrobook 1 and very close to Necrobook 2 as well.
I think they're so far ahead right now.
Yeah.
RR's almost got Ghost Scepter plus the Aether Lens, which is really all you need in this game.
See, that courier was just heading to the Rubik as it got hit by that Sonic Wave. Pretty unfortunate timing there.
Yeah. And they've got Mech completed on the Queen of Pain. Roshan is really easy for them with Beastmaster Aura plus Morphling.
Yeah.
Morphling just goes full Agi. He's going to take it really quickly. He's almost got the Manta style, which is going to be his global silence counter. I mean, they're just rolling right now on the side of Detonator.
I do like the fact they haven't tried anything risky on the side of Detonator. Haven't tried like a super early Roshan or anything like that.
I mean,
just because, as you said, it feels like a 70-30. The only way the Exclamation Mark can really come back into this game is a good team fight.
Yeah. The problem with it is that even when they pop global, like typically when you have heroes like Silencer, you pair them with something like a Beastmaster or a Batrider of your own, so something that has some sort of jump, so that you can pair it with. Like you get the jump off, there's no counterplay, one of your heroes is going down. But when you have the Silencer in this game, when he pops global, everyone from Detonator just sort of runs away. There's nothing really holding them there.
Well, we'll see. For right now, they do have the spam to deal with this Ags. Well, maybe they don't. I mean, the kind of stat focus he did with the double Wraith Band into the Ags, he is able to slow down these pushes.
Oh no, Fly Swallow had to take the DD because the illusions are coming.
Bad.
I think he wanted to try to save it for the morph, but
yeah, just to make sure they got that Roshan.
Yeah, Scamp's so far away.
Skem, who's currently tracked, is not going to be part of the smoke that just happened for Detonator. 4-man smoke pushing forward, or 3-man. It looks like maybe Ben-Hur wasn't in there.
If they could catch Teehee here. This would be huge. He is under a shrine, but they might just have enough damage if they all go on him at once.
Solo going off by himself. You don't have any disables, my friend, and he may have just kind of spoiled that smoke.
Yeah, he's under a ward now too. So Teehee's going to spot that.
He should know. There's no reason this Abaddon by himself is rolling up like this. So he's going to start backing up. Use the defensive doppelganger. Won't be roared up. In fact, now he's got some allies behind him. Thinking about maybe going for a fight here. Now this, if is going to be a fight that exclamation mark win, it's going to be a really long, drawn out one. With that Ags of the Phantom Lancer bouncing around and chipping away at Detonator. But you can see Detonator's a little bit more objective focused. Laid down the Serpent Wards onto this tier 2. Not going to be able to protect it though. And Phantom Lancer is quick to clean that up.
I think they really want the Manton schem before they take a fight. Him going down without getting Morph off before the Global Silence is probably the only way that he does go down.
Yeah.
So they're trying to get rid of all their options.
What do you think about this build-up for the Queen of Pain triple nulls into Guardian Greaves?
Man, everyone's going Greaves now. It doesn't really matter what kind of mid-hero you are. It's just a good item to get. It's a good teamfight item. You're not hating on the fact that you have more mana.
Do they have to nerf the gold cost again for the Guardian Greaves, or is it just conceptually too good of an item, right?
I think conceptually it's just better than any other item that you can really get.
Yeah.
And there's almost a Hex now completed on JG.
That is pretty impressive. I mean, they're holding in kind of... The Roshan hasn't been given up yet. They haven't lost a tier 3, so they still have some control thanks to their outer shrines. It may not be the best map control in the world, but they are stalling out this game and not allowing Detonator to capitalize on that map control that they have. They're not really growing that net worth lead. They're managing to keep it at just kind of like a steady 4,000 lead for Detonator, which as the game goes on is going to mean less and less.
Yeah, this Morph just picked up his Manta style, but like now you already have a Hex on the way for the OD.
Do you feel like Detonator are just playing too cautiously?
Yeah, I think they should have gone for Roshan by now. Because then the second Roshan would be up at like 28 minutes, and they could just win the game. You need to be able to make decisive moves. The fact that they're being this passive when they're this far ahead.
It's worrying.
Yeah, I mean, you've got so many ways to take towers. So many different ways to do things like Roshan. There's not a whole lot of jump on the side of Exclamation.
It's funny, even though it's like they don't have like a whole lot of ways to pick people off, I feel like Detonator still are not spread out as much as they could be when it comes to farming and stuff. Like, they don't really have anything to fear from exclamation mark. They can play kind of aggressively as they want to.
Mm-hmm.
Blink Dagger now for the Beastmaster. That will help with what I think has been a little bit of a problem of theirs in starting team fights. So he doesn't go for the Necrobook 2 or 3. Opts for the initiating item. We've seen them a couple times, like try and get aggressive and just not really find any opportunity.
And this OG's gone all in with offense. Like, I feel like he needs BKB so bad, but decided to go for the Hex. This is the all-in offensive play. This is the hope we catch the Morph once and blow him up.
Yeah. And that is going to be a bit difficult with not just the nature of Morphling, but also, again, having a defensive support like an Abaddon behind him. They are going to be able to double a blink forward here. Get the quick pick off on the silencer.
Go Roche. Go Roche.
And even though it's just a 5 position, he is still a very core component of the team fight.
You have
with
a
that
DD on
global
Morph.
silence, so. They're even going to lay down the Serpent Wards, again showing how cautious Detonator is, taking very little risk. Borrowed time actually going to be stolen by this Rubik.
Huh. He actually popped it.
Oh,
Fly
did he?
solo, yeah. That means he had to have
Oh, yeah,
aggressively
he
used
had
it.
to. So you can see that Rubik just playing super far forward. Now Roshan is going to be falling quite soon. If they get into this big global
they got
sound,
the
it's going to
Hex.
go down. They managed to get into the back line, and that is going to be the Beastmaster dying. The quad's quite low as well. Turn around, Skem actually turning into the Morphling is laying damage in with the help of the Shackles of the Shadow Shaman. He's going to start ripping some heroes apart. Detonator are going to buy back on the Queen of Pain to try and make sure this Roshan doesn't fall to the hands of Teehee. He's trying to pick it up, but no, it's Skem who gets the Aegis just in time. And now it's going to be exclamation mark. Fully committed inside of that pit. Maybe Teehee can actually pick up a kill on his way out. That's going to be on RR, but he knows he cannot get away from all these heroes on Detonator. It is going to be a lost fight for exclamation mark, but it did cost Detonator a significant amount. They had to buy back on Ben-Hur and still lost several heroes. Looks like they're going to be losing Noya again. That's going to be a dieback for him.
Yeah, now they're going to go high ground. I think you just kind of have the opportunity to end the game. The Bounty Hunter's still alive, but he doesn't really slow down this progression whatsoever. So they're just going to lay into this tower. They've got the Curse of Avernus. They've got drums out on their Morphling. He's got an Aegis. He's very unafraid of what's to come.
It's just unfortunate that they made that kind of commitment to Roshan when it wasn't quite at kill territory, you know? It was low, but it wasn't.
Oh, there's the roar.
There's the jump in. They're going to be able to grab the Bounty Hunter, saved by the imprisonment of the OD, but he's going to come back in a similar position here. Ben-Hur still trying to keep it up, but see Mistcoil being stolen by the Rubik helps keep the Bounty Hunter alive. That's still going to be racks down, though. Detonator now up to a 5,000 net worth lead. They're being pursued, though, with all the tracks on them.
I mean, they're trying to get something going, but you saw the problem with the OD, by the way. He got Hex once and dies.
Yeah.
He tried to lay down the ult, but Morph was able to waveform dodge it. They're just kind of getting a little bit outclassed right now. Like, he needs probably at least one more item before he's really effective. The PL, yeah, he's tanky, but he doesn't really deal damage, so everyone just sort of ignores him and his presence in the game.
Yeah. Well, now he's got the Diffuser Blade. If he can get some more stats, that Ags plus Diffuser Blade and then plus the Illusion start getting really tanky, this could be enough to kind of stem the bleeding and prevent that second lane of Rags from going down. Tier 1 mid is going to fall here, trying to catch the Abaddon. He's going to pop the borrowed time, manage to keep himself alive. They're going to try and lay into this OD. He's going to go down. 50 seconds on the clock for him, and Teehee is going to try and doppelganger and get himself out of here, but it looks like they still have an idea of where the real one's going. Ben-Hur actually not trying to pursue the Phantom Lancer, blinks backward instead. But with the OD down, maybe time for Detonator to push into the high ground again.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
They can get the range tracks if they want, or they can go for the tier 2 at top lane. Looks like they're going to opt for the latter here, Skem.
There's still 20 seconds, and they still have Aegis.
We do have completed Scotty ready to go for Skemberlu. So it looks like, once again, Detonator are in no real rush.
And they know their Morph can't die. He's so stat heavy now.
Yeah.
He's got 1,400 health. He's got an Aegis. They can probably just start assaulting this top lane too, while RR makes his way over. Who's got a Blink, a Ghost Scepter, and an Aether Lens. He's quite farmed.
1,400 health is so much on a Morphling who's full agility statted out.
Yeah.
Who knows what that is when he's full strength morphed out, but... And he is closing in on it, but it may not be fast enough. He's still 1,200 net worth away from grabbing that item. And right now, Skemberlu is not shy about diving into this high ground.
Yeah, they're being real aggressive about this right now. Skem just starts pushing forward. Shaman wards are laid out too. There's so many PL illusions of his own. Everything's getting a little bit muddled here as they're going to lose this tower pretty soon. They've got to do some sort of defense.
But how do they initiate? They don't really have an initiator in the first place. They've just got to try and run in. Global Silence is still not up. Try and get a little bit of harassment here. Okay, the Morphling does come forward, immediately gets hexed up, but he still has that Aegis, so. Not to mention the second life of being able to morph into a Morphling once again. They're burning through all of his mana. Looks like this could be his first death, and it is, but it costs the OD his ultimate here.
Can you do it a
second
second
time?
time?
The second time. The Scythe of Ice is not going to be up quite yet. Now it does go off. They're going to be able to control the Morphling a little bit longer with the Global Silence, making sure they can't actually save Skem, but he saves himself with the Manta, is able to back away. They get a tier 3. Not going to try and push for more, though.
I feel like they should have fought. There's no OD ults. There was no Hexa. That was your Global Silence. there's not a whole lot more that they can put out. You
Yeah.
could wait for this DD rune. That's pretty sick. But
You just want to go back in while Global Silence is on
yeah,
cooldown.
you got Roar plus Necrobooks. I think you just do it again. Skem's got DD. You should take full advantage of this. The range Rax has already fallen. Skem's so strong at this point.
Yeah.
Like, the only way for them to kill him is now gone. There's still 100 seconds on this OD's ult. There's a similar length of time on the Silencer's ult, 84 seconds. There's so little that you have to worry about at this point. The Abaddon can now save him.
Radiant's top
Managed to get the
tower
roar. That is going to be the Silencer dying almost immediately. They are going to be able to get a lot of damage on Sam H. It looks like that Phantom Lancer, all his illusions just ripping him apart. The Sonic Wave goes down and does manage to kill all those illusions, but Sam H still dies. They reveal the real one, though, with the shackles onto the Phantom Lancer. He's in trouble and cannot be saved. He does have a buyback, though. Rubik bought back as well. Skemberloo's in pretty deep here, trying to chase that bounty hunter, where the rest of his team is focused on objectives. That's going to be the glyph down now, but the Serpent Ward's being cleaned up by Teehee. He's already down to half HP after hitting the Necrobook 3 and killing it.
Oh,
The
Skem's
OD,
deep.
Skem managed to just isolate that Phantom Lancer. He's trying to get him, but Skemberloo turns back, and the real Morphling now going to jump back in. Is going to go for that OD. Couldn't quite get him. Blink forward from RR. Managed to get the shackles. Cop to seal the deal. Will be able to kill that OD. That's going to be a dieback on him, so it's all up to Teehee to try and eliminate the rest of these heroes out of his base. Detonator are going to be caught, though. Quap, he goes down for 90 seconds. Skemberloo's trying to make his way out, but he's completely out of mana. He's at half HP, tossed back by the Rubik, and you know Teehee is not going to slow down this push. They've got the track on him. They can chase him forever here. Detonator are going to lose 3 of their cores in this fight, as well as the support Shadow Shaman. All they got out of it was a melee Rax.
That was such a huge swing as they were able to take down multiple heroes. They forced some buybacks. They had to use some of their buybacks of their own, but more importantly, they kept at least one of the range racks up, despite having to be against Aegis Cheese plus plus the DD Morph with no real abilities up. Like, they didn't have the Global Silence, they didn't have the OD Ultimate, and they still managed to hold. The PL is now starting to hurt pretty bad. Like, he's got level 20 for his level 20 talent. He's got a fully completed heart. You can see that he just causes a lot of chaos in these engagements. It's really hard to see what's going on, I think, for Detonator. And they do have some clear, but they might just find another hero.
Shackle stolen, but RR is here to save the day. Sam H gonna try and blink away, and he does before the Phantom Lancer's there, but he does have the extra Phantom Rush range if he wants to try and track that bounty hunter, but instead he'll just go for RR. And I think this poor support knows that he just had to give up his life to bail out his core.
And every one of these kills means so much in terms of net worth. Like, Teehee just got 400 for that, and they were near some heroes, so the Rubik got a good amount of gold too. And, I mean, a second ago they were up so much. Now they've cut the gold lead despite being down like 2 melee racks and a range racks. They're only down by 1,000 gold. Like, this is some sort of comeback if I've ever seen one. And now you've got backup items too. You've got a pipe and a mech completed on the bounty hunter.
Yep.
And this is just all in. Let's keep our PL alive for as long as possible, which I think is the right approach. And now that you've got a BKB completed on your OD, it's even easier for him to get into these fights too.
The 10-second BKB duration. It feels like that big team fight, that hold at the base was a big swap, where we just had an exclamation mark kind of trade out buybacks and a melee racks in exchange for getting closer to their sort of end game winning scenario.
Yeah, I mean, they
with
just
all
got
these
like
big items.
they got 900 gold split for killing the Morph. They got 400 for killing the Queen of Pain. They got an additional 2 kills on top of that.
Yeah.
And all of these, I mean, they snowball so hard, especially when you're as far ahead as you were at one point on Detonator. So we're going to see again in this in this top engagement, when they jump in, they're in so deep, but everyone's out of mana at this point.
Yeah.
And the steal of the shackles from the Rubik was so huge for 2 different kill setups.
I feel like that's a classic Morphling play, where you feel so strong that you just kind of dive in. And his team followed him up on that. They did not need to do that. If they just focused on the racks, maybe they just could have taken a second lane of racks, not had that disastrous team fight, and walked away with a larger net worth lead than they have now. It's been minimized to only a 3,000 gold lead for
They have some
Detonator.
items coming in now, though. Beastmaster does have his BKB. Like, the mana burn is doing way too much.
Yeah.
So now you've got the BKB, and on top of that, your Queen of Pain's almost about to get a Shiva's, so they have 2 different ways around that. They have a little bit more AoE. They still have I mean, having a Ranger Axe at top is really handy. Because it means they can't just suicide throw bodies at your bottom lane.
Yeah.
I think if you do that one more time, your PL is going to get like 2 more items.
Oh, Blitz, and let's not forget the level 15 talent for the Silencer. My boy's got 120 GPM now.
That's actually pretty nice for this type of game.
Yeah, that's free wards right there
Yep.
for your 5 position.
He now has a Yasha. I mean, in 3 minutes, he's going to have buyback.
This next fight is so crucial because if Exclamation Mark can manage to hold in this next engagement, Bounty Hunter does manage to snag away that bounty rune. Good grab by him, so they're going to just split it 2 for 2. But if Exclamation Mark can hold in this next team fight and are not punished for using their buybacks in that last engagement, then they may just actually get to a point where they're actually winning the game. They're just straight up stronger than Detonator.
Yeah, so Ben-Hur picks up another big AoE item in the Shiva's guard. This just makes him a little bit more tanky. He's got a Yule Scepter too, and he's not really going to get bursted down by the OD, which should be his main concern. And he's got more of a mana pool to work with too, as they're going to smoke up on the Radiant side.
What I find really interesting about Dota is it's evolved over time is this talent change now means some of these hero matchups get these late game perks that they didn't previously have. Take, for example, this Quap. Like, normally we'd be saying Quap's going to be falling off by now, but we're actually, if we can get her to level 25, that's actually a really big peak of power when you have that AoE Scream disable.
Morph also decided to go for the talent, by the way, that targets allies.
Yeah.
What's even... I guess you could have a free Hex in fights.
Yeah.
Would that be that bad?
Just turns into the Shadow Shaman and
Just waveform
Waveforms
Hex? That
I
doesn't
can
sound
kind of see
terrible.
that.
Yeah, that sounds like the worst thing I've ever heard
You
in
don't
my life.
copy talents if you are the Morphling.
Yeah,
so
but like Hex is still nice.
Yeah. I'm just saying you can't turn into the Quap and do an AoE double fear. That would be sick. Lotus Orb is almost complete for Fly Solo. Trying to make sure he keeps control over this Roshan pit.
Such a long lift.
That's the beauty of playing 5 position Abaddon. Could any other 5 position just roll up onto the high ground like that?
No.
No.
The same with like Brew. When Brew was pretty popular for
Yeah, when he was on
sometime.
5 position, yeah.
And they got to deal with this top lane. The game is starting to slow down a little bit. This is the longest game we've had so far on this main stage. As it looked like it was just going to be super one-sided, maybe like a 20-25 minute game.
But Detonator were not able to close out the game fast enough, and now they're in danger of Exclamation Mark outscaling them. The Shivas, the AoE Shadow Strike. A lot of different AoE coming out from this Quap, but will it be enough to deal with this Phantom Lancer with Heart, Axe, Manta, and soon he will also have a Butterfly. Damn, look at that. They're going for double Shivas. Sam H wants a Shivas too.
That's a surprise.
Is there a better item that you would like to see, like AC or something?
AC would be okay. What about Ags? Clear out all the illusions.
He still does not have Necro Book 3. I just realized that.
Yeah, that was a
He
not
left it
decision.
at Necro 1.
You figured you'd want 3 just for the map control alone, but
Yeah.
especially when you're this far ahead. The Queen of Pain is going to get rid of the Bounty Hunter track on himself. Mulesing up.
I mean, this has been a common trend with the Necro Book that people feel like you only just get one level of it with certain heroes like Arc Warden, for example, Dazzle.
Yeah.
You just farm really quickly with the Necro Book level 1, so you just leave it at that.
I can see it
for
with
a little
Dazzle
while.
more.
But Beastmaster, like, I feel like there's pretty much almost no point in him having this item now at this point.
This is so scary because Scam doesn't have buyback.
Yeah. You think that's what Detonator does, just going to farm it out until they have buybacks again?
Yeah, you might as well.
And then just throw everything against the wall. That is the Exclamation Mark high ground. 11 to 17, 39 minutes in, as you said. Longest game that we've had on stage here, easily, as our 2 best ones yesterday both ended before the 30-minute marker. Butterfly complete for the Morphling, closing in on level 25, and is also looking to get a BKB to
Did he
replace
still borrow
the
time again?
drums.
Yeah, he did.
He did.
This is a really messy engagement.
They are
Globals
going to be able
pop
to
too.
catch. Oh, they might be able to blow him out. In fact, they do. That's going to be the Quap down. And Detonator, if they want to keep control of this Roshan pit, they may have to buy back on their Queen of Pain, and their skills still scared of a team fight. Skem is going to be challenged by Teehee here. The fake Phantom Lancer and the real one doing battle with each other. The Phantom Lancer's, the Morphling's actually going to go for the kill onto the Bounty Hunter. Well, Phantom Lancer does the similar, trying to go for RR in the back lines, but a Ghost Scepter protects that Shadow Shaman. Alaya will be able to stay alive thanks to that stolen borrow
Skem's
time
getting
he
pretty
had.
low.
Man, just managed to get the hold up on Skem, but the Quap is right behind him. Is going to go for the kill onto Rubik, who managed to blink barely away. He's still going to be chased by Ben Hur, who has another blink. Doesn't spot the Rubik, won't be able to find him in time. Over to Skem, who's going to be able to find Whelp, slows him down, burns him out of all of his mana, won't be able to go invis here, and will catch him,
That was
brings
his
him
buyback.
down. No buyback for him, so this means it's now a 4 versus 5, but they did have to expend their buyback on the Queen Pain. Are they willing to go for another high ground? Nope, not.
Go for Roche.
Not yet, go for Roche.
Reset yourself, go for Roche. This is the main reason why you use the buyback on the Queen of Pain, is to go for the Sages. That would truly make Skem unkillable. He's almost got his own level 25. Could just go for the triple multi-shot adaptive strike, which is like the triple dagger on PA.
Yeah. And it's a free Roche. Aegis and Cheese.
Oh, they're going to give it to Ben Hur, which
Yeah.
makes sense. He doesn't have buyback.
Cheese is pretty easy for Skem to use.
Yeah, I mean, you saw him kind of get jumped on there, and he still wasn't able to really get downed. He has so much damage right now, and he almost has a BKB completed if he wants it.
I love how both the carries had the same idea. Morphling turns into a Phantom Lancer, and they both had the idea of just trying to kill the backline.
Yeah, that's what you're supposed to do in this game, especially.
But the farm on the side of Detonator proved to be kind of a problem, just because Teehee thinks to himself, well, I'm going to go kill the Shadow Shaman, but he has Ghost Scepter as well as Blink Dagger.
Probably the problem is that they don't have a third damage dealing core, and the Bounty Hunter, with the way that he has built, like his build's nice if his PL is able to get to the backline, but if he gets himself gone on, it's sort of useless. Like, he doesn't deal any damage.
Yeah.
It's not really a threat in these team fights.
It's not a core that feels like he can go and like two-shot the supports in the back line.
Yeah, exactly. He's just sort of some guy that hangs around, looks at everybody doing stuff, throws out tracks, hope his team wins team fights. As now, I'd imagine you want to use the Sages.
It's like he built like every other offlaner does in the world, where you just build a bunch of team fight items, but he's about
Yeah.
instead of a Tide Beastmaster.
Imagine if this guy had like BKB Deso.
Yeah.
He's able to get to the back line. He's going to two-shot that Shaman. I tell you what.
Oh. All right. I like this little swerve we got going on here. Maelstrom for Ben Hur. So that is the classic ranged core item to try and build against any of these illusion heroes.
Yeah.
He's kind of saying, well, I've exhausted all of the magic damage that I can really build at this point. I already have the Ags, I already have Shivas.
He's about to hit his level 25 talent too.
Yeah.
Which
That's going to
will-
be a really big one to help control that Phantom Lancer.
Yeah, the Scream of Pain one is really, really nice. I think it's one of my favorite talents in the game. It's really unique in that regard. It's like
I
the
don't think I've
reverse battle
ever
hunger.
seen anybody go for the spell block. Ever.
I've done it like once in a pub game when I thought it was good,
Yeah.
and then I realized how good. Like a free Lincoln's sounds really nice if you think about it. Like,
Yeah.
that's like a 47.50 gold item or something like that. Something absurd if you just put it in terms of money. It just shows you how good the Scream of Pain talent is.
Yeah.
That you
When
don't
you
even
put it into the
consider that.
terms of AoE instant disable.
Mhm.
Like, wow. That's...
You get
Can't
Willow's
think of
ult
too
for
many
free.
things like that.
Yeah, you just get Willow's ult for free.
Almost every single AoE
Oh,
disable
courier.
comes with some sort of timer on it. We haven't seen
Oh.
like hardly any courier snipes, and we're not going to see one now.
As well, P had it. That would have been the Radiance or the
Yeah, I
Beastmaster.
don't know what was stopping him.
That was huge. That was actually really, really big. Wait, it's going back now. No,
Wait,
okay. That would have been so tilting for Sam Age if he doesn't get it.
Beastmaster Radiance. Also went for the 500 health so he is a very tanky boy.
And there's no MKB on the side of... Oh, Courier does go down.
Hey, got it eventually.
And they're drawing the line right now. Fly Solo saying, guys, let's go. Game's over.
And this is something that exclamation mark, they gotta
It's a
prevent the
DD.
DD Morphling. He's just gonna rip apart these
Wow.
buildings. They have to run in almost immediately and try and put a stop to this Morphling. Does activate the BKB. BKB going off from Sam H as well, goes to the back line, but it's held in place by his own Primal Roar, stolen away by the Rubik, who is, with that extra aura, keeps him disabled for forever, but Stem still going for the back line, tries to blow up the OD, but no, he once again drops the bomb into absolutely nothing as Skem dodged it with the waveform, and now gets hit with the Sonic Wave, but it doesn't matter. He quickly tears apart that bounty hunter. Teehee going for the back line of Detonator is able to kill Sam H. Gets RR a little bit low, but the BKB activated by RR turns Shackles up that Teehee for a little bit longer. JG, who bought back, managed to get the imprisonment save onto the Phantom Lancer. Ben-Hur, who has the age, is going to stand and fight. He's eventually going to die. Skem is
Skem's got
also
the cheese
burned
in
out
1
of
second.
mana. He will be able to get off in a second. Teehee not able to finish off that Morphling in time. Now going to be chased to his doom. Going to be feared up, slowed down. Shiva might be able to catch him. Actually, Doppelganger back into his fountain, but it just doesn't matter. That's going to be Megas and probably the throne with no buyback on the OD or the support bounty hunter at this point. He is no longer a core. He's been demoted.
Yeah, and Skem's fighting up here, but he doesn't have the
Whoa,
cheese anymore.
big
They gotta be
Sonic Wave, they
careful.
almost blow him up. Skem managed to turn into the Phantom Lancer and gets back to full HP just in time. They almost got him, which would have been massive and might have actually allowed exclamation mark to be able to hold here. Unfortunately, as a Phantom Lancer, Skem is now going to go for the kill onto the Silencer and is able to do battle pretty easily with Teehee while the Quap just finished up and managed to secure those Megas with the extra help of the Bat healing him up in the Morphling form.
The TP from Teehee, very aggressive. They're trying to do something to Skem. They know he's got no mana, but another Scream of Pain is going to deter this for a little bit as a lot of daggers fly out, and Whelp's going to get in there too. The BKB is popped by Skem, but they have to deal with so many of these creeps. You see the army right now that Teehee has summoned to try to keep his throne alive, completely exposed at this point, is the Ancient. And with no buyback on the OD, they're just going to have to hold this for now, 3-on-5. It looks like for the time being, they have deterred them.
I feel like 80% of the Mega Creep comebacks that we see, it's usually off of, we got Mega, yes, but we were able to get some kills on the opposing team and then force out buybacks.
Then you sort of reset things.
Yeah, and then you can kind of feel like, okay, we've got a window here. But unfortunately, exclamation mark were not able to achieve that. They weren't able to kill Skemberloo. He still has his buyback, so not only fighting up against Megas, this is going to be one of those games that if you're exclamation mark, if you're Radiant side, you're just going to have to strap in for a long haul.
Yeah.
There is no fast win here.
The only way that they get a fast win is if somebody from Detonator impulsively uses the buyback. But they're going to get all 3 bounties from Roshan pretty soon if they want to wait for it. It's going to be up in a minute.
Hey, Divine Rapier for our Phantom Lancers, so...
Okay,
And
no
I think he's
buyback.
already building a backup
Oh, MKB
MKB.
for his shreds.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I think he realizes like he needs to be able to put more damage out onto this Morphling. There's no way that Skem should be able to just morph himself into the PL and hit his backline for as long as he did.
Doing 600 damage a hit,
That's absurd.
that's pretty good.
This is probably the one way. I mean, what an exciting game this has turned into.
Yeah.
Like, it looked like it was just going to be a 20-minute clown fest. And all of a sudden, Teehee's now got a Divine Rapier. He's 6-slotted out. He's used his buyback. They've completely all in for this. And I wonder if Detonator's clicked. Like, I wonder if they're anticipating these 2 major item pickups. Like, he had 8,000 gold saved up.
Yeah.
And they're going to see if they click any of the PL illusions, which they do now. I think they know. But this is like the 5th DD I've seen on Skem, which is why they're making this play anyways. And they might just go for the throne here.
Yeah, they don't need to focus on killing exclamation mark if they don't have to. The Global Sound's going to go down with that morph. They are going to be able to control up the Phantom Lancer a little bit, but they're already, the Primal Roar onto the OD stops all the damage. They're going to have
Look
to try
at
and
this
get back to the
DD
fountain
morph.
as quick as possible. The DD Morphling is just tearing people apart, but Teehee is trying to do the same until RR.
He finds the right one.
Scepter as well as the Shackles, and it's just too much. He is getting controlled up for so long. Eventually he's going to be dying while inside of the fountain. That Morphling finally did go down, but it's the throne that matters, and that is what allows Detonator to be able to claim victory here in this game 1.
So well done near the end. the way that they took that fight, and RR did so much with that shaman.
Yeah.
Very, very, very well done.
Dude,
overall.
the Ghost Scepter every single time.
Yes.
Like, Phantom Lancer tries to target him, he pops Ghost Scepter, and he always found the real one, too, with his shackles. He never grabbed an illusion, it seemed like. Great player.
I really just like how they itemized that entire game on all their heroes.
Yeah.
This game was a little bit rougher than I think it had to be at points, because I think sometimes they got a little bit too passive, and then all of a sudden they were just like way too over-aggressive.
Yeah.
If they find that balance, I think this is a much easier game for them. But very well done, too, by Radiant for being able to hold that for as long as they did. Like, I thought that game was going to be pretty straightforward.
Yeah. And it all starts with, like, that initial matchup in mid lane.
Yeah.
OD winning that, getting his early hand of Midas is, I think, a big part of the reason why Exclamation Mark were able to hold on for so long. But that is just game number 1 of Exclamation Mark versus Yoshimoto Detonator. For now, we're going to head back over to the panel as they break down that 40, 50-minute game.
Thank you very much, Blitz and Cap. Beautiful stuff there by Detonator. First of all, I want to talk about the early game. It looked like Detonator were going to walk away with it, right? There was this kind of early start. It was very, very dominant from them. What was the turning point there, in your opinion? Like, there was some like point in the game when all of a sudden Exclamation Mark started coming back into it, and it felt like they could actually do it.
I think Blitz hit the nail on the head. You know, the laning stage started off very well for Detonator. A couple of minor mistakes here and there. The Queen of Pain against the OD kind of manning up and facing up a little bit too aggressively.
That was
a
weird.
Bit odd.
He had Blink, right?
But like Blitz said, the kind of passivity and then straight into the overzealous aggressiveness was a weird balance that they struck when they were pushing high ground and taking objectives. And it was chaotic. It was super chaotic. And PL really does feed off these very, lopsided fights where he's able to hunt the backline and find the kills. And again, we mentioned it on the panel earlier. Teehee's position in this team is very much putting the other 4 players on his back when he's playing these kinds of carries. OD had an impact, yes, but was getting picked off very often at the start of team fights.
Yeah, I think they were also just, from the beginning on, they were looking towards this late game. They didn't really put too much emphasis on the early game, the mid game. They just needed to get towards that point where they have the tools, where they go beyond the Axe, beyond the Midas on their course, and then start taking fights then. And yeah, they just managed to slow the game down enough to get to that point.
Axe PL.
Yeah, it's unconventional, but
I honestly questioned it a bit. I was talking to Swordfish backstage, and as time went on, you saw how much he accelerated his farm with it and managed to catch up. But there was a few questions I had in that game, mainly being, what the hell was up with the amount of DD runes that Scam got?
I know, right?
In the last 20 minutes of the game, I think he got 4 or 5 double damage runes when they're pushing high ground or they're grocery spawns. Double damage rune.
Every time he'd be smoked with DD in the Radiant base. And like, what are you meant to do as Silencer against this? What are you meant to do as even OD? You just melt.
Yeah. Especially with no Force Staff or anything on the OD right early on.
Yeah.
Very much Midas, Hex, BKB had to go for that itemization, didn't have any maneuverability. And then you're relying on the Abaddon to save the OD. That's his only job.
Yeah, I'm looking at the draft here from kind of a distant way, and I kind of liked Detonator's draft more in general. I also very much like Beastmaster's itemization. He didn't finish the Necro 3. He went for like Blink mobility to try and get up in on this lack of mobility OD. He took advantage of that. And they kind of pressed off that, and even the Radiance a bit later to deal with the PL.
Yeah.
It was really nice.
Very sort of adaptive to the situation that he was in.
Yeah, they were realizing that they had enough tools to deal with JG on the OD, so they just needed to do everything that they could to limit Teehee's impact. And we really saw that when Corp also got level 25, that you have even more control. Everything that you have,
That
Shivas,
talent is
Radiance, the fear, and once that fear came online, you just constantly saw him going in, but then running back, especially with the Phantom Rush that's still active. It's so annoying to play.
And it gave them so many opportunities for RR to get the Hex onto the real PL. Like, the target acquisition of RR was insane this game. The number of times there's 20 illusions around.
I don't know
and
how
he's just straight away Hex, Shackles on the real PL in numerous fights.
I was a bit confused about that, honestly. Like, when
He just knows.
Especially with the Ags PL, right? It's so chaotic. You have so much going on to be able to just like calmly. All right, I'm gonna press my Ghost Scepter. Get the Hex on the right PL. Just did some calculations here. That one moved a little bit in Adder. Like, how can you do that? Like, it was very impressive. And then it was a very good game. Honestly, I think it's the best game we've had so far in the tournament.
It definitely showed the Detonator that
Exclamation
exclamation point. Mark, you're doing this to him.
I-
But they're not quitters, like we said. They fought till the bitter end. They lose, a melee Rex top. They lose their entire mid lane. But they knew that as long as that PL was able to kind of keep up pace with the Morphling, things weren't, out of contention at all. But the Morphling matchup, it's kind of a weird one, right? Early on, we saw the Morphling turn into OD to try and take team fights, get the OD's damage output going, and then later on, he'd be turning into Morphling, into the Phantom Lancer, because he gets the juxtaposed illusions going, interestingly enough. So he's pushing high ground with these Morphling illusions.
As expected for the first semi-final game of the Cobx Masters. And we'll be back right after a short break with Game 2. See you guys soon.